because that's where our residents have to get to also. And it'll be educational, informative, involving, inspiring, and all those good things.
Thank you, Valerie. Okay,
I
so
have
this is
a quick
not.
question for Mark and Paul real quick, just in reference to this, while we're discussing it and how it relates to the RFQ. And I think we have one sentence in here under scope of services, it says other potential areas of interest are an underground garage and sustainable design, possibly including net zero impact and/or LEED compliant design. Is that sufficient in wording to somebody and looking for their qualifications? Does that satisfy what we're talking, what this discussion is talking about right now?
I think it will.
Okay.
I think the responses will.
Okay.
Will say, here's our net zero energy projects, here are our LEED platinum gold projects.
So we don't need to expound on that at all? I just,
What do you
Or
think?
emphasize it, I think that in light of this discussion, I think you raise a good point, that maybe it should be more robust and stable.
Well, perhaps that's part of a cover letter that goes out.
Well, it's also certainly part of the request for qualifications, which if it comes back to the committee next month, we can discuss. And I mean, personally, I think it should probably be, you want to, I think we want to do what Valerie said in terms of solicit that level of qualification for people. And I don't know how many people have zero net energy experience, but at least on that spectrum, they're on that spectrum and they can point to where they are. And we would, whatever you guys decide is sufficient to really get that information so it can be judged, I think is critical.
You're right about there aren't a lot of experience. There's a lot of experience under the belt for net zero energy. There's a lot of LEED platinum, LEED gold, and that's what I expect we'll see a lot of that in the sprinkling of the net zero energies.
Well, it's just the mechanical process that we go through when we analyze the responses to RFQs and RFPs is measuring the responses against the criteria that we established at the beginning. And we tell the responders, here's what our criteria are, and here's the percentage that's going to be evaluated against. So something like their experience with this particular thing has to be stated very clearly, and Gordon will make sure that we've got a percentage against it so that we as the evaluators of those are able to say, well, this is 20% of the score is for this particular topic.
Well, we can move on that, and Bill's good at that, setting up. Okay. Got enough information from us on that? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Ad hoc committee reports. Does anybody have any information or want to contribute to whatever committee?
are we skipping over project schedule, or are we going to get
No,
back?
that's down here. Continued business, project schedule.
Okay.
We're looking at 4E,
4?
right? You were looking at
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah,
I'm
4E.
looking at 5.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about 4E.
4E.
Is it not on our schedule?
Maybe we can get an update.
Are you talking about this one?
It was outdated.
Yeah,
4E.
40,
Is this a different agenda?
This may have been the one we did when we were just reviewing it prior to sending out the agenda. So I
Oh.
think this is the one that they were referring to. It's the one that was finally distributed.
Okay. I'm sorry, that was before ad hoc. Let's talk about schedule. 4E. Okay, that's okay. I was too ambitious in putting this out.
Well, I think we've had the discussion somewhat already. I point out that the one comment, I'll just reiterate it, that Paul made, that the schedule is rolled up. There are lots of individual tasks and milestones within that schedule that are, and that can be expanded, but that it was meant, at each meeting, we said we would bring an updated schedule to you that incorporated whatever decisions have been made to date. So Paul put that together with my input that said, okay, here's what we've done so far, here's where we're going, just to give you an idea of relatively where we're going. Also, I would point out, Paul, and I yield to his greater experience in this area, said that there may be some issues with the amount of the time of construction, including the time required for the site improvements at the end. So I think you came up with a date that was probably about 3 months later in terms of the actual completion and occupancy than I had, and as I say, I yield to him. And to the extent that if it adds, a month in the process of selecting the design firm, it may add a month, or we may look at it, and remember, once we request proposals, the design team will come back with a schedule, and they may, like in the environmental work, the schedules range from 7 to 12 months. So some firms said, we can do all this and still incorporate all the required public input and outreach, or, so that we'll get, their knowledge will also inform our schedule. So, as Rose said, it's a dynamic, it will be updated each month.
Thank you. And the one thing I'd like to add to one of many things, that can you keep the date current? I mean, change the date when you issue new schedule, change the date.
Okay?
So that, the next month's schedule will have another
Got
date, so that we can keep track of what's what.
Sure. Print date?
Short of saying Rev, whatever,
Right, yeah.
27, just date.
Oh, have the date.
So this has the
Oh,
current
up
date that
there?
it was issued there, and then there's a date that it was printed. So
Okay,
there's several checks and balances there to
okay,
make sure that.
good. I missed a big one. As long as you can plaster it with dates, I just hate it when, you get this schedule and you're looking at this other schedule, and you go, what was that?
And I will say, because we're gonna be in constant communication, so, there may be a version that comes out that's the 8th instead of the 7th, and you'll be able to see it right on top.
Okay, yeah, got messed up on the agenda already.
Yes.
So. Okay, good. And the only thing I want to add again is that please put in enough time for CCAC review. And this is, I know this is going to be rolling, so as we progress, as we need time for, outreach to the community and for our review, our meeting off days, that's got to be rolled in as we move along. So this is going to be a rolling schedule, I hope.
And what you'll see as the project progresses, the top of the page there from line 1 down to line 35 is elaborated on just for our project setup and kickoff. Each one of the major bold headers down below has that much information down below. And as we get further into the project, they'll expand, and you'll see all of the detail that we're participating in for that month or that quarter. And if you look down at line item 102, it talks about the operator approvals. There's checks and balances along there that feed back into all of those phases, from programming to schematic design on down, that you don't move forward until there's an approval or an authorization on a previous task. So all of that keeps feeding back and forth, so there's plenty of checks and balances there that we stay in touch with the progress.
On the schedule, can I ask a quick question? Are you planning to do an environmental impact review?
Yeah, that's happening separately from this process. But yes, we've already received proposals from, I believe it's 6 firms. They've been shortlisted, and their interviews scheduled for the week after next. And that's being managed by our planning department.
Are you attending that class?
I don't think they're still trying to finalize the dates, so I should get that to you when we do it right after the meeting. But they haven't finalized the dates, but I should give you a heads up now, since I know your calendar fills up.
Yeah.
Let me know. I might just document.
Sure.
Why isn't it on here, though?
I didn't give that information to the consultants.
So just to note, in terms of the dates, it looks like the one date that's line item 22 has now changed. The close date, rather than today, would be September 8th.
Yes, and actually that line item, it alone expands into every day that you guys are meeting. So that's all plugged in here for in through 2015.
When they finish, when they plot the schedule out, it will be,
Huge.
if it's done right, it will be,
You can use it as wallpaper.
it can be a wallpaper. We can all take it home as memento. But, yeah, okay, so I think maybe put the EIR timeline in there and, just see how long they take and when we finally.
Well, at this point, and actually I haven't, I just got, at 4:44, I got the information, so I'll give that to you. But as I said, it ranges from 7 to 12 months, so until the committee selects, the committee, the planning staff with our input, selects someone, I can't give you a schedule.
Okay.
But once they select them and negotiate them, we can.
Well, I think the schedule is key to our understanding of what's going on, so if it can be brought, the latest version every time we come have a meeting, I think it will help us visualize more easily in written form what's happening. And I'm not saying you have to fill in the blanks yet, we understand that as you roll down to those areas, it will expand, but I think that we can look at this and critique it a little bit better in this form. So, good job.
That's great.
Okay.
I have one comment on the schedule, just as a general comment. I think as we move forward, I think it's important for us as a committee to keep in mind that extra meetings can be our friend. In order to expedite things and consolidate things like Clive was talking about, and keeping the quality that Rick mentioned, but still be time sensitive. I think we all have to be open to extra meetings when applicable.
Absolutely.
And the other end of that is I think it really kind of keeps us more engaged instead of once a month. I'm not proposing extra meetings every month, but where they're needed, I think they're important to move it along, maintain the quality, and keep us energized and engaged with the process.
I suspect that will happen, without say, especially during the architectural selection, that's gonna keep us all tied in together a lot. So, I agree, I don't think we've never hesitated when that can happen, it needs to happen, so, yes.
I had a question. Is the programming design phase when the public can provide input to the architects about, things they're interested?
Programming is more numerical.
Mhm.
It's a tabulation of, we've got an office, we've got a corridor, we've got a bathroom, and it takes this many square feet.
Okay.
And then from that, you need to put those puzzle parts together so they all fit together nicely. Sometimes you can have a building that's slightly more efficient or less efficient by how many things are in between there. So the program is just making sure that we've got all the right parts and pieces. You haven't put it together into a building yet. What you'll see on the list is schematic design is where they start congealing that into a form that's buildable. And at that point, you'll start getting some imagery for, all right, the footprint of this building may be here, and the parking lot will be over there, and the park will be here. And then they'll start getting three-dimensional, like, there's a two-story component to this building. Here's how the windows might start to lay out. Or if we're gonna take on a green roof, what does that do to the shape of the building?
Okay. When does the public get to provide?
Well, the public, there are several milestone outreach events, which we haven't identified when. And we welcome the residents, everybody in town to come, and we have to have something to show in order to have you comment on it. So we haven't reached that point. George?
Perhaps I could say a little more. What's like we did the HMC process for the project management team, where we talked about the master plan. We went out into the community and held community meetings to get feedback. We envisioned doing the same sorts of things with the design here,
Okay.
but we're probably talking March, April.
Okay, that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
asking about, like when that would begin, so March, April. Okay, thanks.
We have nothing to show yet.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just trying to figure out like when that public feedback. phase would
Yeah,
come in.
but as George said, that
March,
time
April.
And there will be
around.
lots of outreach
Yes.
communication
Right.
to
Well,
the
you will know.
town.
Okay.
Emails, letters, notices of these events.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Are we through?
Yes, then go to the
Schedule, are we
committee,
concluded with schedule?
the ad hoc committee reports.
Okay, now we have ad hoc committee. Okay, and anybody want to contribute to the ad hoc committee reports? Master plan, I think that's pretty much concluded, but please speak up if I'm wrong. Library ad hoc committee, I think that may be resurrected in a while.
Who's on the library committee?
Phil, myself, and Rose.
Familiar faces, just hard to read, fighting themselves. Okay, outreach ad hoc committee, is anybody here from outreach that would like to?
Well, we just have to get together on whatever we're gonna be talking about. So And what process are you envisioning as far as getting that out at the end of the month? Just having a meeting and talk about it, or?
I envision creating a little postcard, emailing it to the three of you, 1, 2, 3,
Five.
and then getting your feedback, hey,
Okay.
changes, is that okay, look okay?
So essentially, we'll wait for your lead on that, is what you're saying?
Perfect.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I was clear that
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna be missing out on anything, or I shouldn't have been setting up some meetings or something like that.
Without you.
Okay,
What if we don't like your design?
you tell me that.
Okay.
I got no shoulders.
I don't think you're ever shy. Enough.
Well, I think that's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Okay. Budget ad hoc, it was Bill, no, it was, who was on
Doss
that?
Star.
Steve, Dee, and Clyde.
And no, I
No,
think Dee Dee.
Dee
Dee was on budget?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Steve, Dee Dee, and
Yeah.
okay. And me?
no,
thought
Steve
I was
and
on
Dee
it.
Dee.
We went through the budget.
Yes, yes, you were. Yes, you
Steve
were.
or D.
Okay, we have nothing to report.
We're still working
These
on it.
guys will have something to report soon, I hope.
We're diving in now.
Good, okay. Project Management Ad Hoc Committee, we were successful in our endeavor.
Yeah. Really nice to meet you guys.
And who was that committee?
Pardon me?
Who was on that subcommittee?
Phil, Clyde, and Rose.
So they have their work in front of us. Okay, I have continued business project schedule, what is actually the next?
Committee and staff member comments.
Okay, anybody have any committee and other staff member comments? George, you must have something to say.
Other than item 6A with the changes to the schedule, I got nothing.
I don't know what I printed out.
Rose, for the library ad hoc committee, I don't know what your objectives are for that ad hoc committee, but as I think the only person in the room who was part of the prior library building committee group, I still have PDFs of every proposal that was provided to that committee, gorgeous presentations on library proposals from those architects, and if that would help you to kind of get a sense of what was being proposed back at that time, which is now a couple of years ago, I'm happy to put them on flash drives and share them with you so that you can see kind of what you were talking about earlier, what kinds of things the architects talk about and how they make these presentations and how broad their coverage are. Because we got these gorgeous presentations and they were just for library component pieces, but if this committee wants to see that I'd be happy to share that older information, because those were pretty comprehensive presentations.
I welcome it, it
Yeah,
doesn't hurt, doesn't hurt.
I'm happy to do that.
Better. Thank you, Valerie. Yes, Gordon.
Maybe if I could ask, I'd like to at least get the names and contact information for all of those firms, because I have a potential, RFQ list, as I said, with about 15 names on it. More the merrier, we want to open the funnel
I think
wide.
all the contact information is on the front page of every one of those
That'd be
PDFs.
wonderful if you could send that to me, Valerie, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for that contribution. Okay, I got lost again, I don't feel like I'm doing it. I don't think this paper is doing me good. Okay, so we were still on staff member comments and committee comments, no other? This is a very
Well,
goal.
the meeting schedule, so I had a question.
Oh.
Right now, we're the second Tuesday of the month, right? And,
Meeting the council?
no, the
Second
CCAC.
Monday.
Monday.
Second Monday of the month, sorry, I'm confused. And the council is the third Wednesday, so would it make any sense to have this meeting occur on the first Monday? Does that make a difference in terms of the committee being able to maximize the time frame between the committee meeting and the council meeting and not have to skip a month because of that?
Yeah.
Or the fourth, I'm just saying, is there a different time that would make more sense, given that as we're coming into a series of decisions, where there's almost gonna have to be an interaction between the CCAC and the council in every month?
Yeah, right. No, I think it's a great idea. And the other alternative, as we talked about a minute ago, was maybe we have 2 meetings a month for a short period of time. But I think moving into the first Monday sounds like it would certainly get rid of that little bottleneck that we seem to have now.
I mean, if that works, maybe we should put it on the agenda for the next meeting, when everybody's here.
Patty would be good for that since.
I didn't add 6A was, I was, you know, as.
But that was a different change.
Granted, but that was, I was gonna bring it up just as for October and November because of holidays, to suggest that the meetings be either moved up or moved back, and I think moved up would work on. But, I guess they changed to a regular meeting, and, you know, in terms of a Brown Act issue, do we have to put that on the next meeting?
The regular meeting schedule at CCAC is codified within the resolution that the council adopts. But if we want to have a series of special meetings during a short window of time while we're working on the RFP, and then when the architect's on board, we don't have a problem doing that outside of changing that resolution. If you want to change the regular meeting date, the council's got to approve the resolution change, but that's easy enough to do.
George, I guess the question is to you, in light of maybe wanting to get something onto the council agenda,
It makes sense to have it sooner,
have it sooner.
yeah. Much.
So it would have to be on our agenda for our next meeting.
Yeah, well, you can decide today that you want to suggest that, and we can put it on the next council agenda.
The next council agenda is September,
Mhm.
so we'll meet before
Time's good
that.
then.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah.
I mean, this committee won't want to meet the 1st of September because
No.
that's
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Right.
So I'm bringing it up with the idea, if you want to change the
Right.
meeting date.
Timing's good for that right now.
Yeah, probably bring it to the committee
Right,
at its next meeting, and
I agree.
I mean, there's plenty of time to give staff notice, they can bring it to the council in September.
I agree.
Mhm.
Let's put that on the next month's agenda, next
That's
meeting.
nice.
Everybody will be back in town too.
We could bring it to the study session.
You don't have a September study session
Why not?
because you're in Southern California.
I didn't make that change. I didn't know.
So do we not have a meeting scheduled for November right now?
At this point, your current schedule,
I don't have.
following the second Monday regular schedule,
Right.
would be September 8th, which is not Labor Day, but the Monday
Right.
following. Columbus Day,
October
October 13th, which is why I'm suggesting a change to that schedule, maybe moving that one up
Okay.
to the 6th. And then November 10th, which is one day before the Veterans Day, or I guess it's Veterans Day, Armistice Day holiday. So some people may want to have a long weekend. And
So moving to the first Monday would avoid that conflict.
Exactly, so I think Vice Mayor DeGolia's suggestion makes a lot of sense. You don't have to make the decision today, but I think, grateful we have a couple members of the public here today. The more in advance we could put the information on, as well as to all of your schedules that are busy, the better off. So if you said, yes, we want to change October and November, as you're suggesting, to the first Monday, and then at the next meeting in September, get the full input of the CCAC that says, if you want to change your regular meeting, you'd make that recommendation to the, as a staff, I'd write it up to the city manager, says CCAC has requested, then the city manager will bring it to council with a recommendation to change the resolution, to change your regularly scheduled meeting. You could then have special meetings on any other day in addition to that.
I think in light of our earlier discussion and looking at the schedule, it's pretty vital we have a meeting in November.
So that's probably the sequence I would say is, I would recommend that you at least agree at this meeting to change the October and November dates, move them up a week each. And then at your next meeting, an item will be on your agenda as to whether you wish to change your regularly scheduled meeting to the first Monday of the month going forward.
And that would still give us enough time to put that resolution.
Correct, exactly. For those- So that would require an action by the committee, if they wanted to, willing to change that.
Okay, so not required. Who wants to make the motion to change these meeting dates?
It would be October 6th and November 3rd.
October 6th and November 3rd, in lieu of our present schedule.
I'll move that we change our October and November dates to the first Monday in October, meaning October 6th and November 3rd.
Would you like to second
I
that?
second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
We need to look at the other two.
Yes. And we have the last two others, formation of committees,
Formation.
other categories.
Okay, I guess we need to discuss about the possibility of the formation of another committee. And I would like to say that we should defer that until everybody gets back. You know, it's sort of a loose group right now, and I think some people would be put on it who aren't here, and that's.
They all would be put on.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Let's put Phil on this.
And we just have that item on the agenda as a recurring thing, as some of these
Yeah,
issues
yeah.
are dynamic. So.
Yeah, so
I
we'll
think-
defer that one.
I
No
think
motion?
maybe we should look at the ad hoc committees at the next meeting, both the idea of a new committee, which we talked about, sustainability committee, but also there's like the master plan committee, we probably can disband that.
Right.
And
Yeah. We-
project
we-
management, I mean, maybe we recharacterize
But
or
who knows, we
disband it.
may revisit the master plan again. I think we're just putting these as placeholders, just in case when it's.
I don't think we revisit, I think the master plan's gone to the council and it's done for this committee.
Yeah, we don't revisit that. It would only be revisited in the context.
Okay, we can talk about dropping some of these so they're not on the,
On your plan, right?
Less committees are always good, so.
Yes.
new committees being formed all the time.
That's it.
Okay, would like to make a motion to adjourn. Christine,
Make a motion, so moved. Or I'd like to make a motion.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Over.
Hopefully I'll talk to you before then. All right.
Sorry.
That's
I'm glad you're doing that.
Yes.
And she, he saw it.